On Wednesday morning, April 2nd, 2025, a high school track and field event in Frisco, Texas turned deadly. During a UIL district championship meet at Frisco's Kuykendall Stadium, an altercation broke out in the bleachers between two 17-year-old students. By the end of the confrontation, one student, Austin Metcalfe, a junior at Frisco's Memorial High School, had been fatally stabbed, and another, Carmelo Anthony, was in police custody facing murder charges. Witnesses and police records indicate the dispute started over seating at a team tent during the meet. It was a rainy morning, and Austin Metcalfe asked Carmelo Anthony to move from under Memorial High's pop-up team tent, which had been set up for shelter. Anthony refused, and allegedly responded by reaching into his backpack and warning Austin, "Touch me and see what happens." According to a probable cause affidavit, Anthony then taunted Austin further, daring him to throw a punch. When Austin tried to physically pull or push Anthony out from under the tent, the confrontation escalated instantly. Anthony pulled out a black folding knife from his bag and stabbed Austin once in the chest. Immediately after the stabbing, Anthony fled from the stands as onlookers realized the severity of what had occurred. Panic and confusion spread through the stadium's bleachers. Austin's identical twin brother, Hunter Metcalfe, was present at the meet and witnessed the attack. Hunter rushed to his brother's side, trying desperately to save him. "I tried to help him," Hunter later said, describing how he pressed on Austin's wound to slow the bleeding. Paramedics and coaches also sprang into action to render aid. Hunter was so distraught, he attempted to ride with Austin in the ambulance. "They had to yank me off him," he told local reporters, recalling the chaotic scene. Despite the frantic life-saving efforts at the track and on the way to the hospital, Austin's injury proved fatal. He collapsed within minutes and tragically died in his twin brother's arms at the stadium. The bright yellow Memorial High School team tent and scattered equipment on the bleachers marked the heartbreaking scene in the aftermath of the stabbing. Meanwhile, police officers responding to the 911 calls quickly located and apprehended the suspect, Carmelo Anthony, nearby. According to an arrest report later obtained by the media, Anthony almost immediately admitted to the stabbing when confronted by officers. "He put his hands on me," Anthony allegedly said in his first statements to the police, followed by, "I did it," confirming that he had stabbed Austin. The teen suspect even asked officers whether his actions could be considered self-defense and inquired, "Is he going to be okay?" referring to Austin. Frisco police took Anthony into custody at the scene. Later that same day, he was formally arrested and charged with first-degree murder in Austin Metcalfe's death. Who was Austin Metcalfe? Austin Metcalfe is being remembered as far more than just a victim of this tragedy. He was a 17-year-old honor student and athlete with deep roots in the Frisco community. A junior at Memorial High School, Austin excelled both in the classroom and on the field. In fact, he maintained a 4.0 GPA while balancing multiple sports. Friends and family describe him as a natural leader and a young man with a bright future. Austin was a leader. He led the football team. He was voted team MVP by his players and coaches, his father Jeff Metcalfe said, recalling his son's accomplishments. At 5'10" and 180 pounds, Austin was a starting linebacker on the Memorial High football squad, a role he took great pride in, and he also participated in track and field to help improve his speed for football. Football was his pride and joy, Jeff Metcalfe explained, noting that Austin had been training hard in track season to get faster for the next football season. His dedication paid off. He was named the team's most valuable player in the past season and was eager to compete at the college level in the future. Outside of sports, Austin was known for his infectious smile, humble attitude, and love of the outdoors. He and his twin brother Hunter were inseparable, the kind of brothers who not only looked alike, but also shared the same tight bond through every activity. The weekend before the tragedy, Austin and Hunter had gone on a hunting trip with their dad, making memories that Jeff Metcalfe now cherishes even more deeply. "I'm so fortunate to have spent that weekend, not knowing it was the last I'll ever spend with him," Austin's father said, his voice breaking in an interview days later. Dozens of teammates, classmates, and community members rushed to the hospital on the day of the stabbing, a testament to how many lives Austin touched in his 17 years. "He was a bright young man with a great future ahead of him," Jeff Metcalfe later wrote in an online tribute, remembering his son's passion, dedication, and the light he brought to those around him. Austin's death has left his family devastated. The Metcalfes describe the killing as senseless and incomprehensible. "He didn't deserve it," Austin's mother, Megan Metcalfe, said through tears in an interview with Dallas media. In the same interview, Austin's twin brother Hunter struggled to make sense of why a simple disagreement turned violent. "It was really senseless. I don't know why a person would do that to someone, just over that little argument," Hunter said, shaking his head at the trivial reason behind the fight. The pain of losing Austin, especially in such a sudden and brutal way, has been immeasurable for the family. "My son watched his brother die in his arms," Jeff Metcalfe said of Hunter's trauma, describing the moment that has forever changed their lives. In the days following Austin's death, an outpouring of support flooded in. A GoFundMe campaign started by Austin's father raised over $300,000 to help cover funeral expenses and to honor Austin's memory, with countless messages from friends and even strangers sharing how Austin's story moved them. Memorial High School held moments of silence and wore ribbons in Austin's school colors at subsequent sports events, determined to not forget the legacy of this well-loved young man. Who is Carmelo Anthony? The suspect in Austin's killing is Carmelo Anthony, a 17-year-old student from Frisco Centennial High School. It's important to note that aside from sharing a similar name, he has no connection to the retired NBA player Carmelo Anthony. This Carmelo, spelled with a K, is a local teenager and high school junior. In the immediate aftermath of the stabbing, Frisco police released his identity publicly due to the severity of the crime and the fact that under Texas law, 17-year-olds accused of violent felonies are charged as adults. Anthony was described by those who know him as a relatively quiet student. He was not previously known to police or school authorities for any serious disciplinary issues. At a court hearing, Carmelo's father testified that his son had never been in trouble before. No arrests, no significant school infractions, painting the portrait of an otherwise ordinary teen with a clean record. Despite his ordinary background, Carmelo Anthony now finds himself at the center of a homicide case that has drawn national attention. Very little personal information about him has been made public, beyond his age, school, and the details of the case. Carmelo was confirmed to be participating in the April 2nd track meet as a competitor. His father later testified that he was the captain of both the football and track teams at Frisco Centennial High School. It's also confirmed that he was present in the stands under the Memorial High team's tent when the conflict with Austin began. According to witness statements, Carmelo was sitting in a space reserved for another school's team, refused to leave when asked, and escalated the confrontation with verbal threats. The fact that he was carrying a knife in his backpack at a school event has raised many questions, though Carmelo's lawyers have so far declined to explain why he brought a weapon that day. In the days after his arrest, Carmelo Anthony's family and supporters quickly rallied around him, maintaining that there is more to the story than what initial reports suggested. His family, who describe themselves as very faithful and tight-knit, urged the public not to rush to judgment. They launched a legal defense fundraising campaign for Carmelo on the Christian crowdfunding site Give, Send, Go, which drew widespread attention. The fundraiser's page portrays Carmelo as a good kid who found himself in a tragic situation and asserts his right to a fair trial. The narrative being spread is false, unjust, and harmful, the Anthony family wrote in a statement on the page, referring to how the incident has been characterized publicly. As a family of faith, we are deeply grateful for all of your support during this trying period. Your prayers and assistance mean more to us now more than ever. Within a week, that online campaign raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to help pay for Carmelo's legal defense. By April 9th, the fund had swelled to nearly $300,000 in donations. For comparison, a GoFundMe for Austin Metcalfe's family raised a similar amount in the same time frame, illustrating how the community has been driven to support both the victim's family and the accused's right to due process. The large defense fund for Carmelo Anthony became a source of controversy. Many community members expressed outrage on social media that a murder suspect was receiving so much financial support. Critics argued that allowing crowdfunding for someone charged with a violent crime was inappropriate, and they pressured Give Send Go to take down the campaign. In response, Give Send Go's co-founder Heather Wilson defended the decision to host Carmelo's fundraiser, citing the principle of innocent until proven guilty. From the beginning, we decided that Give Send Go would not serve as judge and jury. Someone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Shouldn't that same standard apply here as well? Wilson wrote on social media, emphasizing that the platform had also allowed fundraising for other high-profile defendants in the past as a matter of principle. The debate highlighted a community divided, with some feeling sympathy for a 17-year-old who might have made a terrible mistake, and others focusing on justice for Austin and condemning any support for his killer. In fact, tensions ran so high that Frisco's police chief publicly warned against misinformation and inflammatory rhetoric circulating online about the case. Fake social media accounts even emerged, impersonating officials and spreading false claims about the incident, prompting Chief David Shilson to decry those deliberately spreading misinformation, hate, fear, and division in this already emotional situation. Police had to clarify that certain rumors, such as a falsified medical examiner's report that was posted online, were completely untrue. Investigation and legal developments. From the moment Carmelo Anthony was arrested, the incident has been treated as a criminal homicide investigation. Frisco police quickly secured the scene at Kuykendall Stadium, gathered witness statements, and recovered the alleged murder weapon, the knife. By that evening of April 2nd, Carmelo was booked into the Collin County Jail. He was initially held without bond while investigators worked to piece together what had happened. The following day, April 3rd, Frisco police publicly confirmed that an altercation between two students resulted in one stabbing the other, leaving one victim dead and one suspect in custody. They identified Austin Metcalfe as the deceased victim and announced a charge of first-degree murder against Carmelo Anthony, who at 17 was being charged as an adult under Texas law. First-degree murder in Texas is a serious charge that can carry up to life in prison if convicted. However, because Carmelo is a juvenile, he was 17 at the time of the crime, certain penalties are off the table. Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis noted that the death penalty is not an option in this case. The U.S. Supreme Court forbids capital punishment for crimes committed by minors. In fact, even a sentence of life without parole is not permissible for a 17-year-old due to Supreme Court rulings. Not only can you not seek the death penalty against someone who was 17, you can't even get them life without parole, DA Willis explained, underscoring that if Carmelo is convicted, the punishment will be severe, but it must allow for the possibility of parole one day. For the first week after the incident, Carmelo remained in jail as the investigation continued. A judge initially set his bail at $1 million, reflecting the gravity of the offense. Through his newly hired defense attorneys, Carmelo entered an early plea of not guilty and asserted that he would claim self-defense. Indeed, from his first interaction with police, Carmelo maintained that he stabbed Austin because he feared for his own safety once the physical scuffle began. Every Texan has a right to defend themselves when they reasonably fear for their life. Self-defense is a protection that applies to each and every one of us, Carmelo's attorney Michael Howard said, outlining his client's position to the media. There are two sides to every story, Howard added, cautioning that judgments shouldn't be made until all facts come out in court. However, prosecutors and Austin's family strongly contest the self-defense claim, pointing to the witness accounts that Carmelo was the one who brought a weapon and issued threats over a minor argument. They note that Austin was unarmed and that Carmelo could have simply walked away from the disagreement instead of reacting with lethal force. As the case gained attention, legal proceedings moved forward quickly. On Monday, April 14th, a bond reduction hearing was held in a Collin County District courtroom to reconsider the initially high $1 million bond. The courtroom was packed with supporters from both families, and security was unusually tight. Metal detectors and extra officers were in place. Due to the charged emotions and even reported death threats that had been directed at people involved in the case. During the hearing, Carmelo's father and other family members testified that the teen was not a flight risk. He has strong community ties, no passport, and a supportive family willing to monitor him. They argued the $1 million bond was effectively a denial of bail for a young defendant with no prior record, rather than an assurance he would appear for trial. After considering factors like Carmelo's age, his clean criminal history, and the circumstances, Judge Angela Tucker agreed to lower the bond to $250,000 with several strict conditions. Among those conditions, if released, Carmelo must remain under house arrest with GPS ankle monitor tracking, and he must check in with a court officer weekly. Any violation of the terms will land him back in jail awaiting trial. By midday, April 14th, Carmelo's attorney Michael Howard said they expected to post the bond and have him released to go home under supervision. In Texas, a $250,000 bond typically requires a 10% deposit to a bail bondsman or equivalent collateral, so the quickly raised defense funds may have facilitated his release. Outside the courthouse, a small group of protesters gathered holding signs, some calling for justice for Austin, others showing support for Carmelo, reflecting the sharply split public sentiments. With Carmelo Anthony now out on bond, albeit under electronic monitoring, and Austin Metcalfe's family preparing for a trial, the legal case is now entering the next phase. The Frisco Police Department is finishing its investigation and will hand the case over to the Collin County District Attorney's Office once complete. District Attorney Greg Willis has stated that the case will be presented to a grand jury, likely within a few weeks. The grand jury will review the evidence and is expected to formally indict Carmelo on the murder charge, or potentially a lesser charge depending on what the evidence supports. Carmelo's defense team has hinted they may seek a reduction of the charge, for instance arguing it should be manslaughter or justified homicide rather than first-degree murder. But that battle will play out in court. Our goal is a full and fair investigation, Defense Attorney Howard said, urging the public to keep an open mind. Prosecutors, for their part, express confidence in the evidence. They highlight that multiple eyewitnesses saw the confrontation and that by his own words, the suspect acknowledged the stabbing at the scene. As of now, late April 2025, Carmelo Anthony is awaiting the grand jury's decision and any eventual trial. He is confined at home on house arrest, wearing an ankle GPS tracker, and prohibited from any contact with the victim's family or any witnesses. The case has cast a somber pall over the Frisco community. At Austin Metcalfe's funeral on April 12th, hundreds of mourners packed a local church, including classmates, teachers, coaches, and even competitors from other schools who had been at the track meet that day. They shared stories of Austin's kindness and competitive spirit, even as they grappled with a sense of anger and loss. This is a terrible tragedy for our entire community, DA Greg Willis said, reflecting on the case. One family has suffered a permanent loss. It's the most unnatural thing for a parent to lose their child. The Anthony family has had a different kind of loss, but a loss nonetheless. In other words, 2 families' lives have been shattered. One mourning a beloved son taken far too soon, the other seeing their own son facing the possibility of decades in prison. Where the case stands now. In the days following the incident, online discourse escalated rapidly, with some users labeling the case George Floyd 2.0. Supporters of Carmelo Anthony argue that the legal system is treating him harshly due to his race and have drawn parallels to past cases involving young black men and the criminal justice system. On the other hand, Austin Metcalfe's family and many in the Frisco community have urged the public not to politicize or racialize the tragedy. Austin's father, Jeff Metcalfe, has stated publicly, "This was not a race thing. This was not a political thing. Please do not turn this into something it is not." Despite those appeals, the case has undeniably become a flashpoint in the broader national conversation about race, justice, and the power of narrative in high-profile crimes involving teenagers. While no official investigation has identified race as a motivating factor, the emotionally charged debate continues to unfold online and in media coverage. This case has already prompted discussions about school safety, conflict resolution among teens, and the wisdom of bringing weapons to school events. It has also highlighted the role of social media in shaping narratives, with officials cautioning against misinformation while families plead for privacy and justice. For now, Austin Metcalfe's legacy lives on in the memories of those who knew him and the community determined to honor him. And Carmelo Anthony's future hangs in the balance as the justice system evaluates his actions on that fateful day. As District Attorney Willis emphasized, this is a profoundly sad situation for everyone involved. The hope is that the legal proceedings ahead will provide clarity about what exactly happened and ensure accountability under the law. The story is still unfolding, and we will continue to follow any new developments. In the meantime, Austin's classmates have dedicated their track season to him, running in his memory, and the community remains united in grief, heartbroken over what we call the senseless act of violence, as the Metcalfe family described it. This is everything we know so far about the case. A heartbreaking collision of 2 young lives that has left one life ended, another forever altered, and a community searching for solace and justice.